So recently I saw this video made by a YouTuber named XRadStuff on comparing the Indominus Rex versus Ember. And watching the contents of this video made me realize that this person might be LARPing. It's almost as if the Indominus is already a fully grown adult.
She will be 50 feet long when fully grown.
Before the events of Jurassic World, Isla Nublar was an extremely dangerous place filled with Shrikes, Rexi herself, Metriacanthosaurus, Baryonyx. We don't even know how long Ember's been on that island.
Today was supposed to be a normal analog horror video as usual this Saturday. However, I have been called out. I'm a LARPer, a fraud if you will. And the guy calling me out is no other than Zeta. Now, not going to send this guy any hate. I actually watched some of his stuff and you guys also want me to react to his video downplaying Acid 87 so heavily. You pointed out some things he did miss, including a lot of competition feats Acid 87 showed. I will go ahead and say this before we get into the video. I've been a Jurassic Park fan for as long as I can remember, would pester my mom to get DVDs, and use illegal sites to read the books because I didn't have access to a credit card to actually buy them at the time. If you've been an OG member, then you know that I have stated that I am not the best at power scaling, but I instead use things like size and comparing different characters to others of the same species. People who are power scales like Goji Chronic are much better than I am in this field, and Zeta arguably is too. As for the thumbnail, that's just how my thumbnails usually are. When you watch a video, you know I don't actually mean the Indominus is low tier. Despite 87 being my favorite dinosaur, I think she beats them, even at her younger size. Again, please don't harass this guy or anything, this is just his opinion and it's YouTube, so it comes with the territory. But with the yap of on over, let's get into the video.
That the thumbnail of his video consists of Indom and the Ember T-Rex having some massive power gap. Like my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, what could possibly have your creations believing this?
And that's just how I do my thumbnails. If you watch a video, then you know it's close. The truth is that between most Megaceropods in the verse, it's fairly close when each are at full health.
Her first real fight because the only thing she's fought before were raptors. Even though the Indominus Rex was smaller.
Scanning data centers. Status complete. LARPing ass bitch detected.
Holy shit, dude. The Indominus is smaller than Rexi? Bro, it is directly stated that the Indominus has the size gene of the Giganotosaurus, which is directly stated to be the biggest carnivore the world has ever seen. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it was stated that she wasn't fully grown by Henry Wu himself. He said when she reaches 50 feet, when she does reach that adult size, she will be larger than the T-Rex, who is more likely Rexi he's referring to.
She will be 50 feet long when fully grown. Bigger than the T-Rex when fully grown.
So yeah, the Indominus Rex would have likely been even bigger than the Giganotosaurus in my opinion, if she got to reach her adult size. But as Henry implied, she wasn't fully grown yet.
With the introduction of Rebirth, we get to look at the largest Rex. Actually no, the largest Megaceropod in the verse so far being Ember.
Yo, XRad, so last time I checked, the largest theropod is actually the Giga, and the statements we have for Ember statistically way less than Giga. What are you talking about? I have this weird feeling that this dude genuinely does not like the Giganotosaurus or something, because everything that happens to involve this guy in Jurassic World power scaling just gets casual.
Okay, now this is where my personal issues come into play when it comes to purely power scaling and using stats this trilogy gives us. If you've been following this franchise and the many different posters and creature cards, you know how iffy the trilogy is when it comes to creature sizes. The Rebirth chart was one of the most controversial, especially the Titanosaur one. Think when it first came out, the Titanosaur was apparently 11 tons when it was supposed to be the largest animal to ever walk the earth in the verse, and in an official size chart, a human is taller than the Titanosaur's uncle. Is that an uncle? Nevertheless, a person is larger compared to the movie. For example here, where we see a person is now dwarfed by the sauropod. In the promo for the movie where the Titanosaur was said to be the largest sauropod to ever live, we see that it's 13 tons apparently and 68 feet long, while the Brachiosaurus is canonically 25 tons, while some posters go so far as to say over 30. Now this comes from Jurassic World themselves, from their YouTube channel, and the promo says they're the largest thing to ever walk the earth, but are smaller than the Brachiosaurus based on their sizes here on the poster. However, the movie most people make out immediately that the weights Jurassic World give just aren't true. The animal is well over 100 feet long when we look at the movie. Even Ember here, a human somehow is almost tall enough to reach his arms. This is official by the way, from the poster. But in the movie you can see this is just not true. And when comparing humans next to other Rexes side by side, Ember is the bigger of the two using movie clips. Like look at Claire and Rexy's head here, and now look at Ember's head compared to the other people close by. You can clearly see Rebirth is larger. Like this is where the issue I have with certain weights we see in the charts that this verse gives. Look at this one right here. The Indominus Rex is 50 feet long and 12,000 pounds, and Rexy is 44 feet long and also 12,000 pounds. Again, this is more than likely comparing the two during the events of Jurassic World, because as Henry Wu said in the movie, she wasn't fully grown yet. And no, I don't hate Zeb, guys, my favorite Megaceropod after 87 in the verse. The Indominus Rex, as I said, just wasn't fully grown.
The Indominus Rex was not even fully grown before she kicked the bucket. She was just under 9 tons, but
I don't even have to try, bro. Just stop. Plus the consistency of her being bigger than Rexi, who is 8.4 metric tons, which translates to over 9 tons, blatantly debunks this.
This chart here shows depicts her full size, which would be over 10 tons. But here's the issue. He says that the Indominus Rex was bigger than Rexi at that moment, and that Wu said that she was the biggest, which is a half-truth. Again, when she reached her adult size, she would have been the biggest. This post said that Wu was set out to create a hybrid that's larger than the Indominus Rex, and he was successful in creating such a hybrid, but she unfortunately got put down before achieving this.
If she was allowed to reach adulthood, she would have been 10,050 feet.
It's almost as if the Indominus is already a fully grown adult according to X-Rat's logic. Also, in the movie, they literally concede to this. When asked on when the Indominus Rex will be fully ready in context of her being fully grown, Henry Wu responds with that she already is. So yeah, there you have it. The Indominus Rex is fully grown. What needs to be—
What?
No, that isn't her adult size. Are we contradicting what Henry said in the movie? After rewatching this guy's claim, I scoured the entire internet for anything claiming that the Indominus Rex was fully grown during the events of Jurassic World. Even checked out much larger creator channels who tackle the Jurassic franchise even more than I do, and they say she's not fully grown in the movie. That's why there are so many videos online doing what if scenarios on what would have happened if the Indominus Rex was fully grown. That chart would have been her adult weight if she was fully grown, and there are others out there showing her being between 8 and 9 tons.
When asked on when the Indominus Rex will be fully ready in context of her being fully grown, Henry Wu responds with that she already is.
What are you, Richard?
No, that was not in regards to size. Investors came to the park. That statement was in regards to when she would be able to be shown to the public. Even your own people in the comments call you out for this. One of the reasons why Claire brought Owen over there was to get his opinion on the dinosaur. No context was ever about size in that scene. Just when she would be ready for display, she would still be growing when they put her up, you know, to be looked at. Okay, look at the scene. Full scene as a matter of fact. I don't care if the video gets copyrighted.
She will be 50 feet long when fully grown. Bigger than the T-Rex.
Every time we've unveiled a new asset, attendance has spiked. Global news coverage, celebrity visitors, eyes of the world.
When will she be ready?
She already is.
Does this appear to be a discussion when she'll be ready size-wise, or when she will be ready to be put in display? Why would Henry Wu seconds before say she's not fully grown yet, but then a few seconds later go, oh yeah, she's actually fully grown? He doesn't have amnesia. That was in response to the investors' questions and when they could actually start making money.
The first few seconds, Rexy was rocking her, I'm not gonna lie. But the Indominus Rex was smart enough to realize she can't beat this adult Rex in a head-on fight using just her jaws. So she implemented her massive and powerful arms, basically created some distance between the Rex's mouth and her neck, while at the same time absolutely shredding the Rex. And after that, it just slammed her to the ground and dragged her around. And she would have won if it wasn't for Blue and that meddling mosasaur.
I do want to point out that the Indominus is stated to be stronger than Rexi, so any anti-feat that someone wants to bring up for Rexi allegedly being stronger than Indom in terms of their fight, this wouldn't even matter at all, as it would just prove that the Indominus was weakened in the final fight, and that this fight is not actually reflective on her full strength. So any feat that Rexi does is just going to be an Indom upscale. This is just consistent as it stated in the Jurassic World guys that the Indominus was specifically designed to be Rexi superior. So to propose the idea that Rexi can actually defeat the Indominus would just be a contradiction of the narrative intention. Given all this information, the Indominus was—
Again, look at the footage. In the first few seconds, who was dominating the fight? I clearly said Rexi was taking it at first, but the hybrid's superior arsenal allowed her to quickly turn the tables once she put her hands on the T-Rex. In a full-on fight, the hybrid does win. It's just in the first few seconds she was getting overpowered at first. And it's not just me saying this. Multiple other threads agreed that during the first few seconds, Rexi had the upper hand on the Indom before it slammed it to the ground.
I do want to point out that the Indominus is stated to be stronger than Rexi, so any anti-feat that someone wants to bring up for Rexi allegedly being stronger than Indom in terms of their fight, this wouldn't even matter at all, as it would just prove that the Indominus was weakened in the final fight, and that this fight is not actually reflective on her full strength. So any feat that Rexi does is just going to be an Indom upscale. This is just consistent as it stated in the Jurassic World guys that the Indominus was specifically designed to be Rexi superior. So to propose the idea that Rexi can actually defeat the Indominus would just be a contradiction of the narrative intention. Given all—
Oh my days, yes, that the Indominus Rex was made to be stronger than the T-Rex, but dear heavens, show me in what guide did it say the Indominus Rex was fully grown during the movie. That's all I want, not just some size chart showing her her actual adult weight if she lived. What chart or post out there contradicts Wu's claim that she wasn't finished growing yet? It's like you missed the entire segment of the movie. I never claimed Rex was going to win the fight. All I said literally was she was getting rocked high key in the first 5 seconds. And if you want to use the argument of the Indominus Rex being weakened, which is why she was stumbling at first during the fight with Rexi, the Rex was past her prime. Not only that, she had a severe gum infection during her time free on Nublar, and even though she recovered from the recapture, her go-die plan did not help her case, which is why she's slimmer as fans notice. I mean, look at her in the first Jurassic World, and now look at her in Fallen Kingdom again. Which version looks healthier? Again, even if Rexi was at full strength, I don't think she could have beat the hybrid. But I just want to point out that the Indominus Rex wasn't fighting some Tyrannosaur at a peak during the scene.
Gravity crashing down your neck, and she did not die.
I mean, X-Rat, this is not helping your case at all. If not, it just goes against it completely. The fact that you're hyping up the feat of the Indominus Rex surviving the bite of the Mosasaurus, which is stated to be even greater than the T-Rex, plus all the other things you just mentioned, it just proves how durable the Indom actually is. And X-Rat, this is why feats matter for power scaling, because now that you provided an extremely broken durability feat in context of Jurassic World, you're gonna need to find me a sufficient AP feat or enough attack potency for Ember to eventually kill Indom, because I don't see Ember having this beyond Mosasaurus level bite force that is easily going to defeat the Indominus Rex, which of course you're going to need in context to your video because you're the one making the claim that the Indominus is low tier garbage and that Ember is god tier. But then, you know, at the end of the day, it's pretty obvious clickbait.
Yeah, it was. themselves. In no way is the Indominus Rex low tier garbage, but the reason as for why I ranked Ember slightly above the Indominus in terms of strength is by comparing him to the feats of other Rexes as a whole. Things like Buck, Big E.T. and Rexy, who on screen are smaller, pull off some insane feats for their species. So with a scaled up engine Rex, I would say he's fairly comparable to them in terms of strength and durability. And as I did say as a disclaimer in the video, he does not have much feats, but I will admit my fault here. Usually in my other videos I give two outcomes, one being if we use power scaling, and the other if we use what we see in the films and statements given by directors and so on. But I'll get into that later on in the video when he makes another point I want to highlight.
A bit over 50 feet and close to 11 tons.
Now guys, I actually recommend watching X-Rat's content. Me personally, I actually do watch his content before I go to sleep. He has a very soothing video style or whatever that makes me sleep much easier. But when he does a lot of the power scaling debates for dinosaurs, for some reason he just pulls out these like statistics out of his ass. I don't know where he's getting his sources from, and I'm being genuinely serious about this.
Hey setup, you're welcome. At first when I started doing this YouTube thing, I thought my Caribbean accent would be a bit off. But the amount of people saying that it's a good background YouTube audio, low-key makes my day. I'm just glad you guys don't mind, you know, the voice. But no, I didn't pull the sources out of my ass. I looked on Reddit threads, Discord and other sources that actually scale certain dinosaurs to how big or strong they actually are based on what we see on screen. Others doing their own complex calculations on comparing different characters to other members of their species to help in my videos. I'll say this early on in the video, in purely power scaling logic alone, then yes, the Indominus Rex wins. But based on, what's the word, I don't want to say logic because it makes power scalers sounds dumb when they're the furthest thing from, well, some of them are, but some you do take it too far. Who's the guy? That one Godzilla power scaler who was way too into it. He called it Goji Chronic, Goji Center and a few other large creators, and it turned out he was a rabid racist. Yeah, wasn't good. The Birdman called him out, so just tone it back, some of you power scalers, tone it back. But I'll try to use a sort of real life example. There are some cases of Siberian tigers surviving bullets from poachers, and some lions that have killed dozens of other lions on their own. So for either big cat based on power scaling, they have good strength and durability feats. But if you put any up against a featless random wild polar bear that's 700 kilograms or more, who do you think is winning? Like, this is what I mean. If we take some random large male polar bear and not a genetic anomaly of its own kind, he should lose to a Siberian tiger male African lion with amazing statements such as killing others of their own species multiple times or even surviving gunfire. But in reality, both big cats would lose most of the time, even if they were larger than normal against a polar bear. That's what I use when comparing Ember to the Indominus Rex. Zeddy, you got it when it comes to size charts and posters showing stats, but by comparing what we see in the movie to what poster charts say, you can see the contradictions. I mean really, a person being almost as tall as Ember's waist when standing up, and a Titanosaur being 13 tons while being 68 feet long? Really? This is where fans come into play, people who actively compare the consistent sizes of animals during the movies, which debunks what the poster says.
And who was supposed to kill the strongest land carnivore in the trilogy. In the scrap part of the movie, Ember clashed with the D-Rex and somehow managed to win. Now this, without a shadow of a doubt, would make Ember the most powerful carnivore ever seen in the franchise, but since we did not see it on screen, we don't know how exactly he did it. I personally think the humans helped Ember in some way because the D-Rex itself is tons heavier than Ember and has greater physical prowess. I find it very hard that even Ember could bring that thing down in a head-on fight and just walk away. But hey, even with some assistance from people, the fact that it could bring down this Mega Man mutant is a good feat. We don't get much more other written statements showing his strength, but him surviving on an island with multiple other dangerous carnivores and being in such close contact with the D-Rex shows that he has a lot of experience and battle IQ.
Okay, so many critiques with this. First of all, you're using deleted scenes to basically quantify Ember's power or to scale Ember's power, which is extremely incoherent. They're deleted for a reason. They're not actually canon to the source material of Jurassic World because they are literally removed from it. Continuity by definition denies deleted scenes because continuity is how the events happen or the consistency of the events in question. Your own schematics go against continuity, which is what we use to scale characters by going over the data that is contained within the events of the series. So if the data you're using to scale Ember is not within the continuity that he exists in, then you cannot use that data to scale Ember. That is basic power scaling. Like, I'm sorry, if it's not true within the series, then you're not using it. That's basic 101 logic. The battle IQ thing also doesn't help X-Rat's point either because he's just going off of baseless speculation as to what could have happened with Ember. But we don't even know how long Ember's been on that island. There's a huge time skip between Dominion and Rebirth. We don't even know how old Ember is. Look, what I would do as opposed to whatever X-Rat is doing is just going over the context of the island and Ember's background and just committing the most bare minimum amount of assumptions we can make from that and then just make inferences from there instead of just adding like more and more assumptions and just like yapping about headcanon. I would just not do that at all.
Ember like Rexy has carnivores. After asking no before the Indominus Rex, Rexy has contact with the
I mean, that's fine. Rexy had already fought a basically 10 to 11 ton alpha trike. In general, Rexy has already fought dinosaurs relative to or the same size as the Indominus Rex. So bringing up this no experience point was entirely trivial. I don't know why it being a theropod or not a theropod really matters here. Rexy knows how to fight, and using your exact same Ember logic, Rexy had been trapped on Isla Nublar with an entire ecosystem of dinosaurs for years. And before the events of Jurassic World, Isla Nublar was an extremely dangerous place filled with trikes, Rexy herself, Metriacanthosaurs, Baryonyx, and plenty of...
There is a massive engine lab in St. Hubert. There is no evidence saying Ember wasn't born here, or that he wasn't moved here early on. All of the animals were left to fend for themselves and live naturally on St. Hubert when the lab went to crap. The reason why I said Ember likely has better battle intelligence is because he had to live there with other large and dangerous experiments during the time. Now, the entire Jurassic Park game thing is soft common, but let's take the trike feat into effect. Fighting a prey item is much different from butting heads with another large theropod. Herbivores at most would be a danger during a hunting scenario, or if they were defending young, sometimes even territory in rare cases. However, large carnivores would view each other as competition for food, territory, or in some rare occasions, food. It's not like a Triceratops would track Rexy down if it smelled her to just gore her. Might give off a warning call or act defensive, but it won't actively seek out a scuffle. Also, there's some false information you gave when saying what dinosaurs Rexy lived with. Metriacanthosaurus were planned to be an attraction but were never created during or before 1993. I think it was stated that the embryo was 71% complete, but they never got through to it. And the same goes for the baryonyx. On Isla Sorna, there were 5 baryonyx in the island, not Nublar. It was only until the rebuild for Jurassic World where the 2 dinosaurs actually cloned completely. As for the elephant in the room, yes, he's right about the D-Rex scene. It was more so headcanon to better scale Ember since he was supposed to win. But as the animation team said, they didn't include it because it would be too predictable. Still, I'm pissed about that. So on that note, you got it. As some people in your own comments said, I usually use logic and headcanon for most of my videos comparing things. You arguably are a better power scaler, I won't deny that, but when it comes to claims, you got some wrong in your video. In your own comment section, there are people constantly calling out for the Indominus Rex being an adult when she was not, and there were a few letting you know that you took the phrase out of context, calling me a straight up LARPer when saying there were baryonyx and Nublar during 1993 or after the breakout when they weren't, comparing fighting another mega theropod to fighting off a powerful but regardless prey item, and if you want to go off of statements, St. Hubert was said to be the most dangerous island, which you apparently claim is enough to give Ember the edge in battle like you for living with those creatures. But again, just like you, I disagree with that statement because I think Sorna is arguably more dangerous. You have multiple variants of raptors, a wild Rex population, Acid 87, baryonyx and so on, while Nublar's apex was just Rexy after the breakout. She was her own competition, while the dinosaurs in the other 2 islands had to go head to head with each other when it comes to carnivores, button heads and so on. So in my opinion, based on my take and how I compare animals, I still think Ember wins if we use movie sizes and logic, but in a purely power scaling aspect, then the Indominus Rex does win. Even though there were a good amount of people correcting you, I will say that I made some faults as well in my comparison. And this video isn't some beef or anything, do not get it wrong, it's just my response. Only thing that caught me off guard was being called a LARPer for a verse I spent my entire life studying and the animals inside. And you saying baryonyx who are Nublar instead of Sorna makes you low-key seem like the one LARPing, but again, it's likely just an honest mistake and something everyone makes. This is just how I do my comparisons. That's all for now folks, it's like 2 in the morning and your boy's gotta do rounds tomorrow.